Hello, this is Christian, and if you've been enjoying Joyous Podcasts, I encourage you to support us so we can continue to be here. Your gifts is what allows this to continue to be made available for free for everyone. It now goes to more than 55 countries around the world, and it's because you have taken advantage of the opportunity to go to Joyous Podcasts and make a financial contribution. And because of that, you have made a difference. Your gifts make it possible for us to continue sharing this freely. Share this with your friends and have them go to joyouspodcast.com. Joyous blessings to you.
Today's message from Reverend Christian Sorensen was recorded November 20th, 2016. The episode is titled, "The Wizard is You," subtitled, "You Are the Face of God." The song "You Are the Face of God" was sung by our musical director, Rebecca Jade. And if you go to the show notes at joyouspodcast.com, you can visit her website or her Facebook page. Come visit us at seasidecenter.org or join us in Encinitas, California sometime, where we always have great music and a spirited message, a joyful, loving, vibrant community that awaits you.
Feel the joy, feel the peace, and the comfort of home, 'cause all are welcome here. Yes, all are welcome here.
You feel that spirit that is alive in you. You know, that freshness, that new day, that wonder. Oh, wow. Hey, Joseph Campbell, he said, the great privilege of life. You ready? All right. The great privilege of life is to be who you are. I like that, to be who you are. Yeah, it's like you would think that would be a simple thing. But do you know how much our head plays in to deny our joy, to ease on down the road, to be who you are in this world? You've been born for a time such as this, and we want you. You. Remember that poster? We want you. It's that's absolutely it. And so this morning's message, and really the culmination of these 6 magical weeks. I mean, what joy, what celebration, what music. It has been a lot of fun, and the special numbers and the gifts that we've been giving away have all been to you realizing your divinity. You know, realizing that you are the wizard, that it is not outside. And Emerald City, may we all bring it heaven to earth. But I'll tell you what we came to discover is the guy behind the curtain. It's you. You are the wizard. And so what I'd like you to do is to just pull out, you want to see the face of God? Pull out the mirror I gave you on the way in. Did you get your mirror? I want you to look in there right now. And I want you to see the face of God so clearly and recognize there is the wizard. The wizard is you. You are the face of God. You see that? Remember that song, You Are the Face of God? Let's sing that. Look into that mirror.
You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God.
Look to a person that's next to you and sing that.
Face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of the face of God.
Just look around the room.
You are the face of God. Oh, I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God.
Go ahead, look in that mirror again.
You are the face of God. Oh, I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God.
One last time.
You are the face of God. Oh, I hold you in my heart, in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. Yeah, Seaside.
Yeah. Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, God. Thank you, thank you. Well, that's what we're working towards. I could quit now, but I still got a few minutes. You know? But that's it. That's who you are. You know, Ernest Holmes said that I cleanse the windows of my mind so that I may be a mirror reflecting the inspiration of the Most High. I clear the windows of my mind so I may be a mirror reflecting the inspiration from the Most High. That's what I want to do. I want to be that transparency. I want to be that mirror. I want to be that place where Spirit is touching down. And so when things begin to stir me in my life, you know, I realize that I don't have to raise my voice to get attention or to get things to move. I don't have to raise my voice to get attention, to get people to respond to me. What I've got to do is raise my consciousness. And so life gives us the opportunity to make that choice. Am I going to raise my voice to try to make myself heard? Or am I going to raise my consciousness and be that higher expression in this moment that could use a higher expression in that moment? Because when I come up against appearances, what I've come to recognize that when I am not moved by appearances, appearances move. They get out of here. They can no longer stay in my world or in my life. And so what this journey down this yellow brick road through the haunted forest in connection with these characters is a mythical journey that we came to recognize that all these characters are part of who I am. You know, you talk to any therapist and they're going to tell you when they're working on low self-esteem is, am I intelligent enough? You know, do I have the emotional capacity to relate? You know, I got this anxiety and fearfulness. I mean, these characters are like real life experiences for us, like the monkey. You know, last week we talked about the monkey mind being fearful that I can't contribute or I can't give or I'm not good enough or I've got this challenge that's going to show up. Even the wicked witch, I hate to break the news. But, you know, we all have this shadow side of ourselves. And Toto, I've been called a dog before. Yeah. But, you know, that little vivacious, faithful companion that's just going down the road. And we go down that road beginning to strengthen our ability to move through the appearances and the challenges and recognize, you know what, I'm going to face the smoke and the noise and the booming voice like, who are you? Remember that one? You know, and I'm willing to move into the inner sanctum of my fears and my concern and the smoke and the noise and all the hoopla and part the veil and recognize that who that wizard is me. That wizard is you. But you are the one who has got to embrace that. You're the one who has got to accept that as your reality and your truth. Because I'll tell you what, the story goes, as Dorothy began to raise her consciousness, her vibration, everybody around her, it started working for them too. Things began to shift and jive and change for the better and for the good. You know, there was something that was happening, and it is a powerful message for us because we sometimes will hit those dark times. You know, we've been caught in the labyrinth of the witch's castle. I mean, not only us, sometimes like what's going on in our home, maybe in our country. It's like, this isn't looking very good. Not a reflection, just a general comment here. And it's to remind us that there's something inside that is actually the one pulling the strings for our journey and our experience. There's this intelligence, this entelechy that we spoke about, this genius of our being that is moving you forward so you can begin to face what's behind the screen, what's behind the smoke, what is that fear, what is in that dark forest. And we come to recognize through life that out of the dregs and out of the darkness will come a renaissance. Out of the chaos comes creation. And you take a look at like the 14th century on this planet, at least in the Western Hemisphere, it was considered the what? It was the Dark Ages. It was ugly. It was dark. It was nasty. It was mean. It was without plumbing. It was rough out there back then. But in the 15th century, within a generation, you had Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, Raphael, who created these masterpieces of art and work. You had Columbus, Magellan, Vasco da Gama, who found and discovered a new world for us to live in. You had Luther, who began the Reformation. You had Copernicus, who had us looking into the cosmos in a whole new kind of way. And within a generation and within the next century, there was an amazing renaissance that came out of the dregs and the darkness of the Dark Ages like nothing that had been seen since the miracle of the Greek culture that birthed the Western consciousness. How is that possible? Because there is something that is inside that is seeking to birth itself, that is not caught up in the darkness, that is stirring within the heart and soul of you. See, there's something Christopher Fry said, and he's an English poet and playwright. And he said, "Thank God that I am alive now, when darkness comes to meet us everywhere and leaves us not till I take the longest stride of my soul I've ever taken." Thank God that I was born right now, when darkness meets us everywhere. And it leaves us not until I take the longest stride. That's what you're being asked to do right now, is to believe, is to take that long stride, is to face your fear, is to look into the mirror and discover, you know what, I am the wizard. I am divinity. I am God. And people will say that is blasphemy. But I'll tell you what, the greatest privilege, we are told by Campbell, is what I told you to start the whole morning, is to be who you are, which is the divine made manifest. You were born for a time such as this. We need you. And what you came to discover as we looked at the wizard, that the wizard is you, right? It's not some outside manipulative force that is trying to make things happen in your world to give you a real tough time. But it is your higher self that has created this personal curriculum for your soul's growth, to birth your genius, your giant, that's something, that entelechy that is calling you forward. You are the one who is pulling the strings and the handles from behind the window that takes you to the very edge of the boundary of what you know is possible for your soul expression here. It's your higher self. It's not anything out there. It's not monkeys. It's not witches. It is your higher self that says, yeah, Christian, you can do that. Don't give up on the poppy fields. Or like we heard Nikki saying, I'm about ready to give up. But Rebecca said, you know what? Don't give up before you almost get there. You're just about there. You are there in your soul's expression, in who you are and what it is you have to give and to share in this world. Ernest Holmes, he's the founder, right? We know of our beloved movement and this spiritual community. He wrote from The Art of Life. He said, crying out to life, help, beseeching it for good, listen to this, has no effect whatsoever upon it. It's already good. Asking it to give you life produces no good results because it's already incarnated itself as you. But your inward awareness unifies this intellect with life and binds the personal back to the universal. And this is what is meant by the spiritual understanding and the realization. It's like you can't talk God into giving you more good. It's already been given. You can't talk God into bailing you out because you've already been saved. The blessings have already... So how do you experience it? Gratitude. Gratitude's the key here, guys. You know, it's like, I am grateful. That's what gets you back home. You know, you go home for Thanksgiving, you know, wherever that home is that feels comfortable, where you're accepted, where you're loved, where you are able to be who you are, where there is no judgment. And I realize that's the altruistic perspective of home, but that's the one I'm using right now in this moment. And that is the spiritual truth. There's no place like home where you can feel like I can be who I am, and who I truly am is bringing forth this wizard, this genius, this divinity, this gift, this entelechy, that which I am. And the way I get there right now is gratitude. You know, we have been on this prosperity journey with Dorothy and her friends, and we took a look at, you know, the concept of expectancy of our good. You know, she expected good. She was going into who knows what, but she expected good. She was willing to share the good that she had with her friends. We talked about the law of cause and effect, and then the importance of being able to accept your good, because we conjure up a lot of good, but can you really accept it? Then last week we talked about the circulation and the sharing and the giving of that. And today it's about Thanksgiving. That is the power of saying it is good now. I'm going to move my mind to the abundance that I am now. You know, if you find yourself lying awake thinking about your finances or your funds or the challenges or those appearances, I'll tell you how you break that addiction is you begin to remember Spirit first always in your life, and consistently and systematically God, 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 and you know what? God. So when I wake up at 3 a.m., I'm not addicted to my fears, my littleness, my concerns, my scarcity, or contractions of my world, because I'm thinking God, God, God. That's why we say you got to give back to that which sources you Spirit. You go into that flow. Well, I know that, Christian. Great. Well, take a look at your finances. Does it reflect that? Uh-huh. You know, you want to know a lot about somebody? You take a look at their finances. Where is God in that equation? You know, are there a lot of entries? Supporting Spirit's work, supporting Spirit. Every week, supporting Spirit. Because what happens is, it frees me from the addiction of thinking there's not enough because I'm in the flow. You know, it frees me from the addiction that I'm going to be devoured from this haunted forest or from the witch, because you know what? I know that God can't help me any more than it has already helped. You got that? I read that to you already. Remember that? About 2 minutes ago? Right? All your good has already been given. You can't get it anymore. But what you can do is begin to accept the good that has already been given. So, is it showing up in your life? I'll tell you how. You look at your life. It's pretty simple. It's called instant feedback. You know, how's your world reflecting? Some people might want to call it karma. Right? Karma. Some people may call it cause and effect. It's like feedback. But sometimes we give karma a bad rap. It's like your karma is going to get you. You know? Have you ever like looked into a mirror before you went out on a hot date? You know? Or maybe out on stage before you talk to people? And you say, oh my goodness, there's a big piece of spinach stuck in my front teeth. It's like, now that's karma. You know, that mirror is giving me feedback. That's what our life does. It gives you feedback. It's neutral, right? It's not like trying to pull a prank on you. It's not mad at you. It's not happy at you. It is this neutral feedback. And I mean, it is blessed. It is grace that says, man, Chris, I need to really clean that up before I kiss my wife, my beloved. You know, it's like, and that's what our karma does, is it gives us that feedback, but all of a sudden we have twisted it so it's like, you know, this negativity is going to come back into our world. Imagine if we began to twist it towards, instead of darkness, towards light. You know, instead of thinking about your evil ex as someone who really got you, you start thinking, wow, here is a gift from God that assisted me to be able to go deeper, so I have more to bring to my relationships, and I know how to love in a new and higher kind of way. You can go either way with it. You see how imagine there's a child in your world who's got a permanent disability, And it's like, oh gosh, wonder how they created that, or I'm just so sorry. But rather you look at them and you see, oh, here's someone who's teaching me to open my heart, to be more compassionate, to be more loving. You see, this feedback in our world, it's a neutral place, but it's how we choose to put the spin on it. Let's say you got a speeding ticket, and maybe you just decide, instead of being real upset, and say, wow, here's that message that's telling me I need to slow down in my life and take in the beauty and the blessings that are there. Maybe you got a DUI, and the message is all of a sudden it's karma, like, you bad, wrathful guy for drinking. It's rather, you know what, it's really time for me to take charge in my life, because maybe I'm getting a little out of hand here. And all of a sudden, you get to be the wizard that's pulling the strings and say, how are you going to deal with this neutral feedback that's like a mirror reflecting back into your life? It's what you get to do with it that's going to make the difference in your life and in your world. And as you begin, you realize, you know what? It's like I'm already there. All of a sudden, I come to realize that God's not against me. You know, there's a wonderful line from the Course in Miracles that said, if you only knew who was beside you on the path you chose, you would never fear. If you only knew who was beside you on the path you chose, got that? You chose. Got that? You chose. Spirit is still fully there. And so the Course goes on to ask you to ask yourself that question 1,000 times in the course of the day. Who's walking beside me right now? Who's walking beside me when I'm in the midst of the forest? Who's walking beside me when the monkeys are taking over my mind at 3 a.m. and I'm feeling an addiction to scarcity? God is with me no matter what path I have chosen. Spirit is fully present there, allowing me to step into my power. And when I come to a spot that appears to be a dead end, I'm going to realize it's not a bad thing, but it is a redirection. You got that? It's not a dead end. It is a redirection. It's not about getting God to accept what it is I want, but what I've got to do is get myself to accept the presence of God in my life. I am the one who has got to realize no matter what situation that I find myself in, I'm still a choice. Ernest Holmes says it simmers down to this. When you find yourself in negative conditions, can you accept greater good? Because then you will conform to the law of life, and you'll give the law of life a channel to produce in your world. When you face a negative condition, can you choose greater good? Because if you do, you conform with the law of life, and you give life that greater channel to produce greater good for you. I mean, that's it. And so here it is, coming towards the end of our story. And the wizard has just floated away, leaving Dorothy behind. He's already confirmed upon our three characters that their life lessons brought forth their genius. Said to the scarecrow, or gave the scarecrow a diploma, an artifact that said, hey, you got some brains. Gave to the tin guy a ticking heart and said, hey, you got a huge heart. And gave to the lion a medal. We got all those right here. So those are at your home. But I'll tell you what, it was Dorothy's turn, and there goes the wizard. He's left behind. And so in comes Glinda in her pink orb and lands so gracefully in front of her in her huge skirt and dress. And said, I wanted to go home. She said, you could always have gone home. You always had the power, my dear. It's on the front of your program, in case I'm butchering it and not getting it right. And the scarecrow, and why didn't you tell her? Is that great? So why didn't you tell her? It's because she would never have believed. You're the face of God. You are divinity. The wizard is you. How much challenge do you have to have in your life before you get that? That at any moment, you can allow yourself to be filled with gratitude and change your karmic perspective of a neutral law that is responding to your consciousness with thanksgiving. See, that's the key. It's gratitude. This week of Thanksgiving, it's great. It's gratitude. It's like, wow, I am grateful that at any moment I can be home. And what did you learn, Dorothy? She said, well, I learned that I don't have to go any farther than my backyard to find it, she said. I don't have to go any further than inside my own consciousness, my heart, my soul, to discover whatever it is that I am looking for. And what I think I am looking for out there, it is pulling me on a journey so I can begin to discover it within inside of myself. But I'll tell you what, you have come at a time like this because there is the wrong that is rising up everywhere. And you have been tapped to be that evocator of a new design, of a new outlook, of a new pattern. You are a psychological, emotional beacon that is bringing a blessing to humanity at this time as people get caught up about the world, about the planet, about the politics, about what's going on in education or wherever it is. You are that spiritual beacon. You are the face of God. Let the world know that you have been hanging out and your face shines so brightly that they know who it is you have been with. Because at any moment, with any challenge, all you have got to do is click your heel 3 times, and you'll have this life review that will show you where you came to discover the power and the magnificence of your being. Let's take a look at this.
Say goodbye, Toto. Yes, I'm ready now.
Then close your eyes. Tap your heels together 3 times. And think to yourself, there's no place like home. There's no place like home.
There's no place like home. There's no place like home. Place like home. There's no
Somewhere over the rainbow, way up
This is Sienna.